It seems like there's a new SUV on sale every week. Here we go again with another one to tempt Australian families.
SUVs certainly do represent an important part of the Australian automotive landscape. The Honda CR V particularly so, as it represents a major investment from the brand. So this really does represent a major change for the CR V. We've got a much bigger body and a much smaller engine, a 1.5 litre turbocharged unit. There's a range of models to choose from. The car that we're driving right now is the cheapest model that you can buy, the two-wheel drive VTi.
Yeah, and David, it just costs a bit over $30,000 and you get a reasonable amount of gear with it. You get standard automatic transmission, dual zone climate control. You also get a 7-inch infotainment system that has reverse camera and Apple CarPlay and Android Auto.
Yeah, it's certainly a lot of gear. One thing that you don't get in the base model car is active driver safety, and that is available in things like the Mazda CX-5, which have autonomous emergency braking as standard. Unfortunately, Honda hasn't included them in the CR V, reserving them for the top of the line CR V VTi LX, which is a much more expensive car.
Yeah, Dave, that is a bit disappointing. Not everyone can afford a top spec car, and Honda does have some really good driver aids. The lane watch, for example, the lane watch camera is really handy.
Yeah, lane watch is available on the CR V. You've got to pay a little bit more than the base model car to get into it, but the big change is under the bonnet, where we've seen a new engine from Honda that offers pretty decent outputs for a car of this size.
Yeah, it's based on the new Civic platform, but it has a bit more power, so 140 kilowatts, 240 newton meters. I actually think it's good to drive. It's not fast, but it's a comfortable family car to drive. It rides and handles well. I think though the CVT does make the driving experience feel a bit dull.
Yeah, one of the things I don't like about this engine is that there's only one. There's only one engine and one transmission to choose from in this car, which does kind of back you into a corner when you're selecting a new vehicle.
It does, and consumers do like choice, so I think that does restrict Honda in a way. But do you want to have a go?
Yeah, let's swap. Getting behind the wheel of the CR V, it's comfortable, you've got good seats. It's an easy, no-nonsense car to get on with. It's quite comfortable on the road, I find as well. Ride is definitely set for comfort. I have to say, I agree with you on the CVT. Not a real fan of having that in the car, but then again, for most people driving this sort of vehicle, it's not going to be a problem.
Yeah, look, as you touched on before, Dave, it's about comfort, and even like sitting in this car, it's really comfortable, it's really roomy, and plenty of space for storage. There's so much storage here. Like you open here, you can fit a full-size bottle, you can probably fit my handbag in as well. So they have really thought of space well. I think Honda's done a good job of that. And even the design of the interior, I mean, it's a base model and it's simple and neat.
Yeah, Honda certainly do a clever interior. They've got some cars that are really working well in that space, things like the Jazz and the HR-V, and this bigger CR-V really takes off where they left off in terms of maximising the interior space throughout the car. There's heaps of room throughout, in the front, in the back, and the boot is utterly enormous on this thing as well. Really not going to struggle to put your gear in there. One thing that I haven't really gotten on with in the interior is this touchscreen system. So you do have things like Apple CarPlay and you can interact with it and do some cool things, but I've had a few glitches as well where it's very slow to respond sometimes and just doesn't feel as intuitive as other systems.
I found that too, and I think it is a bit of an issue with the CR-V. It's very fiddly and it's not user-friendly.
No, it is a weak point for the car, and it is disappointing. It's actually evidence that Apple CarPlay isn't necessarily the be-all and end-all, because it does have that feature, but it doesn't really integrate that well within the car.
Yeah, and the last thing you want when you're driving is to concentrate on your touchscreen when you're supposed to be focusing on driving.
But on the whole, I think the CR-V does an excellent job of being a family SUV. You've got a lot of space, you've got a lot of clever solutions throughout the car. There's that efficient new engine that has a sufficient amount of torque. And generally, it just does the job.
Yeah, Dave, I think it's a good car, but I'm not completely convinced. I think, the lack of driver aids is a factor for me. The fact that you can get AEB standard in some cars, and just that limited choice of that CVT as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with you on the CVT. I think the transmission is okay for a car of this kind. It's certainly not a deal breaker, and the number of people that want to drive a manual family SUV, God, that's got to be small these days.
One me.
But I'm 100% with you on the active driver aids. I think Honda really did miss a significant opportunity there to put the correct technology into the car, and they might pay for it. Certainly though, Honda says that they want to address that as soon as possible and get all the right equipment into the CR-V as soon as they can. I think when they do, It'll be a very complete car, but they would never sell you a manual.